Hello, hello, welcome, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us here at Azul. I'm excited about today's conversation. Before I get ahead of myself, hi, my name's Gloria Malone. I'm a communications professional, and I'm someone who believes in the power of culture and narrative shift through media and art, and that can really help change the ways in which we let go of long held beliefs that we didn't really know where we got, but that we can unlearn and replace with things that are more positive, and more affirming as who we are as individuals. So today we are talking about EnClave, a Spanish language documentary produced by Azul that explores the historical and geopolitical factors involved in the extensive extraction of our ocean and its impact on social life. And I am thrilled. Azul is thrilled. Y'all are thrilled because today we are joined by the film's producer, Bocafloja. Hello, Bocafloja. I got the
How are you? Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, super happy to share some of the insights of directing this documentary, and more than anything, super happy that finally it's going to be available for everybody to check it out. So thank you for the invitation.
Of course. So to let you all know a little bit about Bocafloja, Bocafloja is an interdisciplinary artist of Afro-Indigenous descent based in Atlanta, Georgia. And Bocafloja's mediums of creation include documentary filmmaking, music, literature, and photography. His body of work addresses topics such as the Global South, decoloniality, critical racial theory, and the African diaspora in Latin America. And Bocafloja has directed two critically acclaimed documentaries, Nanarijo, which came out in 2016, and Bravado Magenta, which came out in 2020. And both of these films gained international notoriety on the independent and experimental film circuit. Bocafloja's approach to filmmaking engages in the practice of self-cartography through nonlinear narratives, aesthetic juxtaposition, and intimacy. And Bocafloja has performed extensively for over 20 years in more than 35 countries, positioning him as a leading voice within artistic communities in the Spanish-speaking diaspora, and being recognized as one of the first artists in Latin America to utilize rap and poetry as an effective model of critical pedagogy amongst impoverished and racialized communities. And, of course, there's more. Bocafloja has been featured in PBS, NPR, Afropunk, OK Player, amongst many other media outlets worldwide. What an introduction and bio. Quite a mouthful, but it makes sense because I had the opportunity to watch the film, and all of what was in that bio that I just read absolutely shows up in the film. And you can see it, you can hear it, you can feel it, not just through how it's shot, the cinematography, but also choices around, some of the dancing that takes place in the film, as well as the, to me, some of the 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 softness of the protagonist in our film, and the backdrop of industrialized cities, of waters that have been contaminated because of the industrialized cities, and how we all live, how we live in this world that's full of juxtaposition, and that again, kind of it's necessary for us to kind of interrogate the things that we see in our communities that weren't always like that, but are there. So before I continue to gush about it, I just want to let you all know that you will have the opportunity to see the film yourself. It will be released to the public on YouTube on February 2nd, which is El Día de Yemaya. So mark your calendars and sign up at azul.org for updates. And we will be going live again to share the film and talk with the film's protagonist, Stephanie Espinosa. So visit azul.org or make sure to follow us on social media to learn more. I promise you won't want to miss it. And somebody else was critical in the making of this film was Azul's very own founder and executive director, Marce. So let's hear from Marce before we get into our interview with Bocafloja.
Hello, bienvenidos. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so excited to be here today because EnClave is a very, very special milestone for Azul. It is a continuation of our multimedia campaign harnessing the power of art, storytelling, and joy en el mar. We are extremely grateful to our to our supporters that sponsored and helped made this happen. The Moore Foundation, the Packard Foundation, Ocean Kind Foundation, and of course our fiscal sponsor, Multiplier. We are very, very thankful and grateful to everyone that actually made the film happen. Our filmmaker and director, Bocafloja, our protagonist, Stephanie Espinosa, and of course the Azul team, who are invaluable and who actually make this happen. Thank you to all of you that have supported us. Thank you to the people that have been there with us since this premiered in DC. And thank you again for tuning in. We're very much looking forward to share this with you. Mark your calendars. Dia de la Candelaria, February 2nd. Tune in. We will be premiering this on YouTube, and I'm very excited and looking forward to see how you like this. Mil gracias. Nos vemos.
Thank you, Maritza, and thank you to everyone again who made this film possible, especially our amazing sponsors, the Packard Foundation, Ocean Kind, and Azul's fiscal sponsor, Multiplier. Mil gracias, and let's cue up this trailer to continue to show you all the amazingness that's in store for you on February 2nd.
Cuando calienta el sol aquí en la playa, siento tu cuerpo vibrar cerca de mí. En tiempos donde el cambio climático está aumentando la temperatura del Pacífico y otros océanos, hay una ironía trágica que se plasma en el sonido de esta canción sublime. La crisis climática nos afecta a todos. Tenemos la agencia para actuar ahora. El océano personifica un mediador desfachatado que atestigua cada instante y regula la complejidad del tiempo en sí mismo. La ambivalencia es su constante predilecta, capaz de darnos vida y tortura en la misma ecuación sin reparo, fuente de júbilo, matriz de sanación, puente interconectivo, madre espiritual, botín de esperanza y a su vez tormenta que nos absorbe bajo el miedo al desarraigo, a la puerta del no regreso, a la falta de un pisar firme, aunque su certeza sea pírrica. La cantidad excesiva de dióxido de carbono emitida a la atmósfera está directamente relacionada con el aceleramiento de la revolución industrial. El cambio climático, como todo en la naturaleza, es una red compleja de efectos que no están únicamente presentes en terreno firme. El océano también es parte de la Tierra. Vamos a sumergirnos en nuestro mar inherente, en la inmensidad del océano de nuestra genealogía. Los yavás que nos guían por el camino amatorio, sanando las piezas de nuestro pasado roto, reconciliando raíces, las que setearon la ruta, la rebelión del ser, nuevo. En esta playa abrazamos nuestros cuerpos, honramos a las Marías. En nuestro linaje brilla nuestra piel negra, en el sol incendiario de la diáspora, sonriendo el sabor explosivo de la liberación.
As you all can see, it's a beautifully shot film, and it talks about some really real topics, right, that are affecting the Global South disproportionately. And there's a lot of themes in there. And so I know I gave a brief description at the top of this live, but those who've not had the opportunity, Bocafloja, can you please tell us a little bit more about what the viewers can expect?
Absolutely. As you mentioned, it's primarily focused on the ocean as a very crucial figure for us in the Global South. Beyond all the metaphors that are created around the figure of the ocean as a fundamental element for our survival, but how the ocean happens to be a one of the most important elements in our social life, in our everyday survival, in the ways we oxygenate our experience in general. So my approach through this documentary was primarily trying to go beyond the journalistic approach of filmmaking. Kind of like we are often experiencing those type of film approaches in which is very into the National Geographic type of narrative. So I try to expand a little bit that notion in order to be, or try to be more punctual and more effective in terms of communicating what I believe it's long term more relevant in terms of the political possibilities of film, and of course ocean preservation. Not only in the aspect of something that sounds quite obvious, but the actual political possibilities of doing work that needs to be done in order to survive, as a community.
Absolutely. And you really I think, kind of like taking the National Geographic lens as something to contrast what you have done here. It's like you humanize the issue and you make the people who are experiencing these issues the experts of their own experience, right? Because she is talking about this as lived experience. It's not some abstract thing that some scientist is breaking down for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the approach that I try to get close to is more intimate, more in is a narrative in first person, is deeply connected to people's experiences. It's inherent to their conditions of existence and to mine as well. So that is one very important aspect of me as a filmmaker. In a way, all the topics that are being discussed, one way or the other, transgress my own experiences as a human, as a person, right? Because otherwise, when doing documentary filmmaking, the main, I guess, the dominant narratives or the dominant approaches are often very imbalanced when it comes to power, because whenever you have a camera, there's a power imbalance with the one holding the camera and the one being filmed or recorded. So my approach is to try to balance that equation and always have some sort of personal experience attached to the initiative of me actually being in one particular space or the other with cameras out. So this is no different when it comes to that. It's an issue that transgresses my own experience, and I feel like it's more like a extended family type of dynamic in which I'm just a channel to guide that narrative from a passive role.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is kind of like the ethos of Azul, right? Because Madse found Azul because she was looking at her personal experiences, the personal experiences of her community, and was like, our voices are not being heard, right? Our voices are not in these rooms where people are talking about us and talking for us. And so the film kind of mirrors that, which I think is really interesting, because both Azul and the film EnClave are, exposing environmental racism. And as the film, right, it uses music and dance, culture, storytelling to really bring viewers through the stark social injustices, right, that we can't continue to overlook and that need to be addressed when we're talking about the climate crisis and climate action. And so what kind of conversations do you hope people start having after viewing EnClave?
Well, I think the artistic aspect of any initiative, political initiative, social initiative, is going to be enhanced most of the times by other elements like the artistic that could actually feel people more identify with a particular agenda, with a particular issue. Historically, any successful social or political initiative has been side by side by an artistic attachment. So the film, I'm hoping, is going to help a lot in terms of bringing people's attention, those that might not be necessarily fully or consciously invested in the environmental topic, but probably directly affected. It's just that they haven't had the opportunity to articulate it or actually, get the chance to analyze what's the origin of some of the social conditions that they live in. So I hope the film is going to contribute in that process of expanding the conversation from an artistic perspective. And also, it's very important to mention that the film is actually part of a series. It's a continuation because it all started with an anthology. It all started with an album that Azul produced, a music album, just a collection of songs with the ocean as the main topic. Then I got commissioned to create and curate an anthology, a written anthology inviting different writers, poets, academics. And from that anthology, we utilize several fragments of that anthology to create the script for the documentary. So at the end of the day, it's like 3 or 4 different artistic initiatives that, coming together, ended up with a visual representation in the form of that documentary as well.
That's beautiful. I love that so much. And you all can see we can hear the album. You all can see the anthology. And of course, you will see the film on February 2nd, El Día de Yamaya, which will be on YouTube. The location was very significant. So the documentary was filmed in Panama. Can you tell us a little bit about why that was decided? And I know you're going to say it, but make sure to add some historical elements into there so people who are not aware of the significance of Panama.
Yeah, I think Panama ended up being a very strategic location because it seems to be cohesive for the dialogue, because first and foremost, for those who don't know, that's where the Atlantic meets the Pacific Ocean. Historically, through the Canal de Panama and all those complex consequences that came with it, the United States intervention and the control of the region, because of how strategic it is economically, ended up having a lot of weight when thinking of a particular space that could include most of the experiences of the whole region. The figure of the ocean in the local context is everything for Panamanians, and also, geographically located at a space in which it's kind of like the divide between South America, Central and North America. And I thought it was a great idea to be at that particular space and have that dialogue, and especially the role of the United States in terms of like capitalist, imperialist entity that historically has been the main figure when it comes to extractivism and exploiting all types of resources in the global South. So Panama ended up being the place, the space, and I think it worked out. Once people get the opportunity to watch the film, they they'll realize, I guess, more graphically what I'm explaining.
Yeah, and it makes Panama a character in the
Yeah.
documentary as well. It's not just a backdrop; it's a character, and it holds a lot of significance in many, many ways. So the film was first released on Ocean Day in 2021, and last year it was making its way around film festivals and local screenings across the country and across the globe. So tell us a little bit more about the journey of EnClave and,
Yeah.
general.
Yeah. One of the main purposes as well was to make sure the project itself as an artistic has an artistic value itself, right? So the possibility of screening at different spaces, community spaces, film centers, independent film centers, colleges, universities, all types of institutions. We got the opportunity to get invited to present it in the UK, in Spain, Colombia, Mexico City, different places in the US like San Diego, Houston, New Orleans, just to name a few. So in Cape Verde. So it's been a great opportunity, and the most interesting part of it is that everywhere we have been or the film has been screened, the commonalities and the shared experiences in those communities that have been reflected once they get the opportunity to watch the documentary, it's very fruitful and interesting for the later conversation, because all those shared experiences are manifested, and it instigates, at the end of the day, the initiative. It's fueled of continuing doing the work that needs to be done in terms of ocean preservation. So I'm very happy with people's reception so far.
That touches on so many things, but it really talks about how a lot of the environmental struggles are super connected across the globe, right? And particularly in the global south, because of the extractiveness of global north communities and countries. So it does make sense, right, that you can go anywhere in the global south or even in the global north, and
Yeah.
that people will have a connection to this film, and that they can see it as a reflection of what might be happening to them currently, or it's a reflection of what has happened to someone and previous generations of their families, right? The displacement. There's a theme in the film where she, talks about the local fishers, right? And like what are they supposed to do? They're just supposed to move, and then they're supposed to move to like these big cities, and then what are they supposed to do? They're just supposed to miraculously make money somehow when their entire livelihood and lives and culture are connected to the sea. It's not just about this, like, again, it's not just about extracting fish to sell to people to, like, make money. It's a practice, it's a way of being, and it's deeply connected and ingrained in so many people. So yeah, it definitely makes sense that you could take it anywhere around the world, particularly again in the global south.
Yeah.
We're from the global south, and there's an immediate connection and understanding. But I know you all are going on the road again. And so can you tell me a little bit about the screen that you're going to have in Medellin and Colombia?
Sure. We're going to have two screenings in Medellin, Colombia, one at the University of Antioquia, and then at a cultural center that is located in a very historically relevant community called Comuna 13. There's an independent cultural center called Casa Colocho that does a lot of work with the communities of African and indigenous descent in the context of Medellin. So we're going to have both screenings, one at the university, which I'm thinking is going to be, the university community, the students and academics, and the other one at the actual Comuna 13 community at Casa Colocho that it's just it's gonna be doors open for the actual community to show up, and I think I'm excited. It's gonna be interesting experience for sure.
For sure. And not to like be super binary and thinking, but the academic space could elicit a different conversation or reaction than like community spaces, right? For sure. And I think that touched on that a little bit, but what have been kind of like the different responses from going to like these really academic institutions to the community that's like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah,
That's me.
yeah, absolutely. That is something I'm aware of. Academic spaces, historically are at the end of the day like colonial in several aspects, and are usually secluded from the community. That's what it is. Pretty much everywhere in the world, it operates in the same way. That's why for me it's also very important to screen the documentary in spaces that are actually accessible to the community, that is fundamental part of the dialogue. It's very interesting that the reaction uh, at community spaces starts by having a profound process of identification with the music. They immediately recognize the music. They immediately recognize the way people cook, the way people move, the body itself as a reflection of their own. So that's a good first connection, and people see themselves, and at the end of the day, that's my main purpose. That's the main space that I want to connect with.
Absolutely. That totally makes sense. So, we are super excited for February 2nd, El Día de Yamaya, where the film EnClave will be available on YouTube worldwide. Before we close out this conversation, is there anything that you'd like to add or anything you'd like to leave folks with?
Well, yeah, just to invite the people, invite the audiences to enjoy the film and socialize it. Share it if you appreciate it. Just share it. We're making it available through YouTube as a platform that happens to be a little more accessible than others. So we decided to release it publicly on February 2nd because of significance of the day, and I think it's a full circle, and I really hope it brings up the opportunity of being more invested in the work that certain organizations like Azul and other individuals all over the global South are doing when it comes to ocean preservation, from an experience and from a perspective that is not necessarily the dominant one historically. Basically white activists controlling the narrative. There's other experiences from the global South, from racialized individuals that are happening at this moment all over the world. So I think it's a good opportunity to be aware of what's going on in different parts of the world.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for the film. Thank you all for watching, for listening in on this conversation. Make sure to follow Azul on social media. We are on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter/X. We don't know what we're calling it these days, but we over there. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And we even have a YouTube channel, so be sure to check out the YouTube channel. And don't forget that we will be going live again to share the film and to talk with the film's protagonist, Stephanie Espinosa, on February 2nd. Visit azul.org or follow us on social media to learn more, not only about EnClave, the film, but all of the amazing work that Azul is doing around ocean preservation, education, and how you can get involved, because we need your help. Thank you again so much, Bocafloja, for joining me and for chatting with me today. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you, Gloria. I really appreciate you, and thank you again for your time and the opportunity.